Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
The blood-sucking ancestor. That is something that exists only in Western mythology. Lin You didn't expect that he would meet in such a place, and it was made by blood sacrifice of a little girl less than 10 years old. In just one face-to-face effort, he would have killed no less than 30 troops. Among them, there are 2 more arms. Die. Lin You didn't have time to react at all. The little girl who flew high in the sky raised her hand again, and a large area of blood appeared in the entire secret space, covering the sky and the sun, swept towards him and the plant army. In an instant, another large tract of plants was rolled up into the sky and shattered under the impact of blood energy. Only the royal armies and a few armies, with relatively high attributes, are struggling to support, but they are completely unable to attack the opponent. I was killed by those idiots. Lin You scolded secretly, and in desperation, he had to recall the remaining plants to the territory, preparing to minimize the loss. But at this time, a dazzling ball of light suddenly appeared, and slowly floated into the air, bursting with dazzling sunlight towards the surrounding area. What? The little girl let out a shrill scream. The body surrounded by blood chi actually emitted a large white smoke, and gradually melted away. Together with the breath of blood surging in the secret space, they were also blocked outside under the sunlight, making it difficult to get close to them. What happened? Lin You was extremely surprised, and looked at the team suddenly. I happened to see the only one fiery sunflower, and the 3 proliferating bodies it split out flashing light, and the ball of light in the sky is exactly the skill cast by one of the fiery sunflowers. Scorching sun in the sky, condensing the power of the sun, creating a small sun in the air for 14 seconds. During the duration of the small sun, the surrounding environment is regarded as sunny, and the recovery speed of the friendly force of nature is accelerated. That's right. That's it. Create a sun in the sky. And the weakness of vampires, isn't it the fear of sunlight? Lin You was surprised. Unexpectedly, this inconspicuous auxiliary skill would come into play at such a critical time. It is estimated that the Liang sunflower just wanted to cast the sun and restore the power of nature to other plants. The result was unexpected results. Good job. Give me a full attack. Seeing that the regeneration ability of the Lord's monster was restrained by Liang Kui, Lin You suddenly shouted loudly, and let the plants launch a comprehensive counterattack. At the same time, it activates the power of rules and launches a savage roar. In an instant, at the mention of the imposing manner of the plant legion, they began to frantically attack the blood-sucking ancestors in the air, and a violent explosion reverberated in their ears. Especially Ivy. Under the stimulation of fresh blood, its entire body was twisting violently, while trying to absorb the surrounding blood aura, while desperately attacking, and its basic attributes are also constantly improving. Together with Liang Kui, we will do both. After a while, it broke through the shackles of the 8th order, reaching the level of the 9th order, and it was still rising rapidly, killing the blood-sucking true ancestor. The blood-sucking ancestor howled bitterly, but under the suppression of the 2, he was unable to exert his full strength, and was directly defeated by the attacks of the plants, and gradually retreated into the underground passage. Stop her. Don't let her escape back underground. In the face of such a powerful lord monster, Lin You didn't dare to give her a chance to escape. If there was another moth, it would be over. After receiving his order, Ling Xi and King Tang and the team also took action one after another, using plants and vines to build a large net on the entrance of the underground hole, blocking the footsteps of the blood-sucking ancestor. The Mushroom Demon King in the sky also dropped a lot of mushrooms. Boom! A mushroom cloud exploded in the air, causing the entire secret space to shake violently. Under the blessing of double explosive power, the body of the blood-sucking ancestor was directly blown to pieces. Just as she was about to use the power of blood to recover, 2 suns rose again in the sky, one left and one right, frantically burning her body, making her scream again and again. And the momentum on her body is getting weaker and weaker. Finally, the properties of the ivy reached the peak of the 9th order, and the vines all over the sky suddenly rushed out. Puff! The sound of flesh being pierced sounded. The blood-sucking ancestor was unwilling to roar, and his body exploded, blown into a cloud of blood, and sprinkled all around. Congratulations! You successfully killed the 8th order Lord Monster, and obtained 100,000 mana. The secret realm loses its support, and will collapse in 30 minutes. Please leave as soon as possible. Call. Finally resolved. Hearing the prompt in his mind, Lin You let out a long sigh. Looking at the entire secret space, it was already in a mess. No longer the church he had just arrived. Okay. Suddenly, his eyes were drawn to the center of the explosion, a radiant object. It looked like a cross. Apart from that, there are no other treasures. Is it the key to that treasure chest? Lin You was shocked, and quickly got up and ran to the entrance of the passage, holding the cross in his hand. Boom! At this time, the entire secret space began to collapse and vibrated violently. Lin You didn't dare to hesitate, and immediately jumped into the passage with the cross, found the previous treasure chest, and carefully placed the cross in that slot. Crack! With a crisp sound, the cross and the socket perfectly fit, and the blood around the treasure chest also dissipated. It worked. Guju! Lin You was so excited, he quickly stretched out his hands, and slowly opened the treasure chest. This time, there was no prompt that it could not be turned on again. After a dazzling golden light passed, several things came into view directly, just like other SSS-level Lord monsters. 3 treasures, 1 8th order territorial essence, and 10 7th order territorial essences. However, what Lin You didn't expect was that, the moment the treasure box was opened, a burst of white light suddenly lit up on the inner wall of the treasure box. A wisp of dim light like smoke quickly condensed above his head, gradually turning into an old man in a red bishop's robe. The old man first looked around blankly, and then sighed in a low voice. The plan, did it fail? Then, his eyes fell on Lin You. Thank you, young man, for setting us all free. The voice fell, and the body began to gradually dissipate, turning into a plume of blue smoke, and drifting into the air. Wait a minute. Tell me what the asterisk is going on in this world. Lin You hurriedly shouted, trying to keep the other party. It's a pity that there was only one fluttering word in response to him. The world is dead. Cherish it. The world is dead. What's the meaning? Lin You stared blankly at the direction in which the old man disappeared, in shock. But immediately, he was woken up by the sound of the collapse of the secret realm. Forget it. Leave that alone. It was only more than 20 minutes before the complete collapse of the secret realm, and he had no time to waste it like this. He squatted down quickly, collected the essence of the territory, and then checked the 3 treasures. One of them was a very familiar chaotic bead, which Lin You picked up first. Belief Orb, Advanced, after use. You can directly obtain 1,000 points of faith power, which requires the core of the territory. Faith Orb. Lin Yu's eyes lit up instantly. He didn't expect to get this kind of thing here, and it's not a low-level orb with an increase of 100 or 500 faith, but a full 1,000 points just like what he grabbed on the battlefield of 10,000 realms before. What this means, Lin You is very clear. As long as this orb is used up, his power of faith can reach 3,500 points, and he is only short of 1,500 to reach the 8th level. If it was before, he might be worried that he would suffer a loss on the battlefield of 10,000 realms if he ascended to the 8th rank too early. But now it's different. He has symbiotic moss mutated from willows. As long as he can rise to the 8th rank, and copy the attributes of the 8th rank arms, the attributes of the main body of his arms can be directly doubled to the level of the 9th rank. Although the number is not enough to compete with the real 9th order, it is enough to stand in the 8th order lord, and after rising to the 8th rank, his proliferating arms can also directly proliferate into the 8th rank individual, and the number of group battles is completely comparable to those of the violent lords. However, the only thing to note is that after upgrading to the 8th rank, it will take time to study the arms. There is no way to directly recruit the 8th rank arms. It is a bit impossible to upgrade in time for the battlefield. Fine. Better than nothing. Even if 1,000 faith cannot upgrade him temporarily, it can improve his strength, which is not bad. After putting away the orb, Lin You continued to look at another thing. A golden troop token engraved with a cross regiment. That's right. It's golden. What this means, Lin You is very clear. Because he had seen such a token several times before, his hands could not help shaking, and he was short of breath. Pick it up slowly, and an interface pops up. Army token, Vampire True Ancestor, Demon. Army class, Rare. Army level, 7th rank. Introduction, after use, you can unlock the Vampire True Ancestor, a rare demon type unit. Use requirements, 7th order territory, 50,000 magic energy. Sure enough, just as he thought, it is a rare weapon token, and it's still the same unit as the Lord monster he just killed. Although he knew that the skills of this unit could not have the terrifying power of the Lord monster, he couldn't help but tremble in his heart. If this rare arms token is taken out, it will definitely make those demon lords scramble for it. At that time, he can take the opportunity to make a fortune, or replace it with precious resources that he can use. After all, for many lords, rare arms are extremely desirable treasures. Putting the token in his hand, and scrutinizing it for a while, he satisfactorily put it into his personal space, and then looked at the last item. It was a cross-hidden sword surrounded by blood, about the size of a palm. But Lin You felt a strong smell from above which made people suffocate. That's why he finally looked at this thing. Holding his breath, he picked up the hidden blade and checked the information. Sacred artifact name, Blood Feast, Universal. Level 1. The attack has a 5% blood-sucking effect and generates a blood barrier that absorbs 5% of the damage. Level 2. Vampire plus 5%. Blood barrier plus 5%. Level 3. Unlocked. Vampire plus 5%. Blood barrier plus 5%. Level 4. Unlocked. Territory skill. Blood baptism. Blood baptism. Active. Detonate the blood barrier, causing damage equal to the absorbed blood to surrounding enemies, with a blood-sucking effect. Characteristics. Territory. Arms blood steal plus 10%. Blood barrier plus 10%. Characteristics. Universal. The effect increases with the scope of the source space. This cross-hidden sword is actually a universal territorial essence. That is, all types of territories can be used. And compared to the sacred object he had seen before, this sacred object actually had one more general characteristic. The effect will increase with the scope of the source space, just like the racial talent. Although I don't know how much this bonus effect is. Even if it is added a few percent, it is not a small improvement. It seems that the basic attributes of high-level territorial relics will not increase. Instead, there will be an extra general feature, which will make it a qualitative leap in its potential and value, which is not comparable to ordinary sacred objects at all. The only pity is that the effect of this Blood Feast doesn't match well with his plant arms. Such a blood-sucking holy artifact is most suitable for high-attack troops such as angels and demons, or it can also be used for large-scale and group attack troops. The most important thing in his plant arms is defense. What's more, his current holy artifact can increase all attributes by 8% per level, which can be regarded as the best in holy artifact. After all, he has never seen a sacred object with a single attribute exceeding 10%. You have to find a holy relic with more suitable attributes and general characteristics to replace it. Boom! Just as I was thinking, there was another violent explosion outside. At this time, there are still more than 10 minutes before the collapse of the secret realm. A large number of cracks have begun to appear on the entire ground, and even the space has become extremely unstable. Lin You knew that he couldn't stay here any longer. He quickly put away the holy relics and hurried outside the church with the plants. Before long, he passed through the light curtain on the periphery of the secret realm and came to the foot of the mountain in his memory. Come out! Someone came out. But at this moment, a cry sounded in the sky. Lin You was startled, and only then did he realize that many lords had gathered around the secret space at this time, surrounding his place in the middle. Seeing him come out, those lords suddenly fell into a commotion. Someone came out alive, indicating that this hidden secret realm has been opened up. Boy, is the treasure in this secret realm on you? What a lot of nonsense. Kill him and grab all the treasures. Go, get rid of him. Obviously, these people were attracted by the movement caused by the secret space, and they were all lords of other realms. Without giving Lin You a chance to react at all, he shouted loudly, and then led the troops to rush towards him suddenly. Lin You even saw several 8th Order lords in it. This is trouble. Lin Yu's face was solemn. Although he held his own strength, he couldn't face so many 8th Order lords at one time, let alone many 7th Order lords on the side. How dare you hesitate to directly recruit all the troops to your side next second? Giant vines rushed out abruptly and went straight to meet the enemy's army. Little 7th Order lord, also want to block me? Go! Cut them all off. Hearing a sneer from one of the 8th Order lords, the flying troops around him took the lead, rushing towards the vines, and their skills burst into flames. Puff! The blood flower exploded, dyeing the sky red. The imaginary vines were broken and I didn't see it, but the Lord's 8th Order flying troops were penetrated through the body one by one and instantly sucked into a mummified corpse. How can it be? The 8th Order Lord was shocked and looked at all this in disbelief, thinking that he was dazzled. The 8th Order arms under the blessing of his various halos were actually killed by the arms of a 7th Order Lord. Stop talking about him. Even the other lords who came next to him were startled and slowed down. But how did they know? Lin Yu's King Tang has just inhaled a lot of blood in the secret realm, and his attributes have already reached the peak of the 9th Order, which is simply not something that ordinary arms can handle. And taking advantage of their stunned opportunity, Lin Yu did not hesitate to ride the Demon King Dragon, turn around and flee. Yes. Although King Tang's current attributes are terrifying, Lin Yu can feel that the effect of ***** frenzy is fading. Even if he just sucked the blood of those arms, it would only slow down the decline. He didn't think that just one arm would be able to compete with so many tier 8 lords, so running away is the best option. Whoosh! Suddenly, the Demon King Dragon turned into an afterimage, and flew high into the sky. The other plants were all recalled to the territory by Lin You, leaving the entire secret area instantly empty. Not good. He wants to run away. Stop him. Seeing Lin You running away, the lords suddenly woke up, shouting and chasing after them, especially those 8th Order lords. The speed is extremely fast, not inferior to the Demon King Dragon with the quick shadow skill, and even a little faster, so troublesome. Looking at the large black shadow chasing behind him, Lin Yu's expression was solemn. The speed of the 7th Order Demon King Dragon is still a bit slow compared to the 8th Order arms. What's more, the arms of the 8th Order lords have one more territorial gain, and attribute suppression than him. Once the effect of the swift shadow skill is over, it will only be a matter of time before he will be caught up, and it will be difficult to fly by then. Sure enough, the 7th Order is still too weak in this area, just restricted everywhere. It seems that I can only use that skill. Seeing the chasing soldiers getting closer and louder, Lin Yu's face sank. Who needs? Immediately afterwards, the Demon King Dragon under him suddenly disappeared, and he fell to the ground in a free fall. What's the matter? How did he recall the troops? In such a high place, doesn't he want to live? No, he wants to escape. Stop him. The expressions of the lords changed one after another, and they suddenly accelerated to catch up with Lin Yu. But at this moment, Lin Yu's body, who was falling rapidly, was suddenly twisted, and with a swish, he disappeared in place in an instant. The team of lords that came quickly rushed straight into the air. The lords looked at each other, all stunned. Even the footsteps of the pursuit gradually slowed down, and finally stopped around the location where Lin Yu disappeared. Where can I see half a figure? Damn, he escaped. It turned out to be a teleportation skill. It ran pretty fast. Although the lords were unhappy, they couldn't use this teleportation skill. After confirming that there was no trace of Lin Yu around, they all left with gloomy expressions, and the remaining 7th Order lords also dispersed, and they all disappeared in a blink of an eye. The other side, on a barren sand dune. At this time, a 3-person 7th Order lord team was bringing troops to besiege an 8th Order leader Sandworm. Suddenly, without warning, the space was distorted for a while, and a figure appeared and slammed onto the sand next to it, shocking the 3 lords. What's the matter? Why did someone fall from the sky? Be careful, there may be an enemy attack. Control the sandworms first. Needless to say, the person who suddenly appeared was naturally Lin Yu. In order to avoid the pursuit of the 8th Order Lord, he had to use the random teleportation skill, but he did not expect that luck would be so good, and he teleported directly into the desert area. If he was teleported deeper into the main plane, then he could only consider himself unlucky. When he got up and patted the sand on his body, he saw 3 lords standing in the distance, looking at him vigilantly. Strangely, Lin Yu didn't feel the slightest sense of rejection from them. Are you from the primitive world? Lin Yu asked in surprise. Several people were stunned when they heard the words, and still asked, Brother, are you also from the primitive world? Yes, I am. Lin Yu nodded. I want to ask, where is the direction of the plane entrance? The transmission just now made him so confused that he couldn't tell the direction at all, and it seems to be very far from the entrance of the plane. Only a few white lights can be seen faintly, and I don't know which is the direction of the original world. Seeing that he was of the same clan, the 3 lords were relieved and said, the entrance to the plane is over there. You can just walk in this direction. Saying that, he stretched out his hand and pointed to the white light on the left. Okay, thank you. Then I'll say goodbye first. Lin Yu was grateful, and immediately summoned the Demon King Dragon to mount it, flew high into the sky in a gust of wind, and continued to rush towards the entrance. When I left, what did I think of? Suddenly, a cannon was summoned, and the muzzle was aimed at Sandworm, the leader of the army who was frantically attacking the troops underneath. Boom! A fiery red streamer swept across the sky, directly penetrating the body of the Sandworm leader, and blasting a cloud of blood on it. The Sandworm leader, who was still arrogant, was hit hard and fell to the ground. The pupils of the 3 lords below suddenly shrank, and they raised their heads abruptly to look in the direction Lin Yu was leaving, their hearts terrified to the extreme. Just one hit. Just hit the 8th Order leader directly. What kind of monster did they encounter? You know, the 3 of them together are only barely controlling the Sandworm leader. Such a powerful monster was easily defeated by that person. Simply perverted. It's a pity that they wanted to thank him, but found that Lin Yu had already flown far away and disappeared from sight in a short while. The attack just now was also deliberately done by Lin Yu, and he didn't kill the Sandworm leader. After all, everyone is the same family. And he also noticed, after killing the 8th Order Lord monster in the secret space, His source space increased by 10 meters, directly reaching the level of 30 meters. The leader of the monster in this district is nothing to him. After doing this, he also accelerated and flew back towards the entrance until the afternoon. Lin You finally returned to the sanctuary smoothly and hung out on the floating platform, where people came and went. Now he has a total of 20 million magical energy, 2 unused treasures, and a mechanical gun turtle token that was exchanged before. The funds are very abundant, and it is not a problem to change something that can be used by oneself. So he didn't rush back to the territory, but wandered between the booths to check the things on each booth. But after walking around for half a circle and changing several platforms, he couldn't find many suitable items, which made him a little disappointed. "Come here, take a look." The king and sister-in-law ran away, leaving behind a pile of treasures, and the blood loss was sold. At this moment, a loud shout caught Lin Yu's attention. Together with the other lords, who were hanging out on the platform, they were all attracted by this strange hawking and gathered there. Following the voice, Lin You soon came to a crowd. In just a moment, a large number of lords gathered in front of this booth, and bursts of exclamations continued. Lin You squeezed into the crowd and came to the booth, and was immediately attracted by the things on the booth. Sure enough, as the hawker said, it has everything, as small as the ordinary tokens of experience orbs, as large as the territorial sacred artifact, the secret treasure, and even the scroll blueprint. There are not a few. I'm afraid it's not directly robbing the Lord's monster's nest. Look at the stall owner again, he is a 9th order lord. Lin You was surprised. Lords of this level are rare, even in the principality, there are only a few dozen. I heard that some principalities do not even have 10. For a lord of this level, the treasures he brought out must not be ordinary, so he could not help but look forward to it, and check the information about the things on the booth with the other lords one by one. Don't say it yet. The quality of the stuff on the stall is really high. He casually checked a weapon token, all of which were very rare, flying units, as well as architectural drawings such as hero transformation pools. It really deserves to be the family of the 9th order lord, and the richness makes people ashamed. In the blink of an eye, there was a lot of noise around the booth, asking about the prices of various things. Okay. Suddenly, Lin You noticed that the Chaos Orb in the middle was very similar to the Advanced Faith Orb he had just obtained. Click on the information to view. It is really a high-level Faith Orb. It can directly increase the power of faith by 1,000 points. To know, Faith Orbs are extremely rare. He has only seen it in the Wanji battlefield, and the main city points exchange. And the ones in the main city can only add 100 faith, which is ridiculously expensive. Even if he has this one in his hand now, he finally got it after clearing a hidden secret realm. I didn't expect to see the second one now. For a moment, Lin You suddenly had a very bold idea in his heart. If he can win this Faith Orb, then he may be able to rise to the 8th level, before the Battle of 10,000 Realms. At that time, it will be the time for him to exert the greatest power of the symbiotic moss. Thinking of this, he immediately lowered his mind and asked, "How can I sell this jewel of faith?" "You want this thing?" The stall owner was still answering other lords' inquiries. But after hearing Lin Yu's inquiry, he turned his head to look at him, and looked at him. After seeing that he was only at the 7th rank, his eyes narrowed. "Boy, you should know how rare this thing is. The price is not cheap. The Faith Orb is indeed a rare treasure. Just like medicinal pills that can quickly advance practitioners, the price is often very high. After all, things are rare. Who doesn't want to quickly rise to a higher level and higher resources?" So he can be regarded as a wake-up call for Lin You, so that Lin You can't come up with equivalent resources in exchange and embarrass himself in front of others. LinYu naturally understood what he meant, nodded and said, "I know, you can make a price first." "Are you sure?" The stall owner looked at Lin Yu suspiciously. 20 million, and only the equivalent, not magic energy. 20 million. Lin Yu frowned slightly. This price is indeed much higher than he expected, and the average 7th order lord really can't get it. For the 8th order lord, it is estimated that these 1,000 points of faith are not very attractive. No wonder there were not many people asking for the price. However, it is understandable that things are rare and expensive. If this thing is auctioned, I am afraid it will be more than this price only. The things that can be worth tens of millions on him now are only rare tokens and territorial relics with growth. After thinking for a moment, Lin You took out the unused defensive holy artifact. "How about you look at this? Can you change this orb?" "Hey. Growth-type holy relic." The stall owner looked at the holy relic in Lin Yu's hand with a surprised expression. "This thing can only be obtained by killing the Lord Monster above the 7th rank. It's not easy for you, kid. It's just luck." Lin Yu said modestly, "Okay, I happen to have a brother who is looking for a defensive holy artifact. so I'll exchange it with you. Seeing that there were more and more people asking about the price, the stall owner didn't bother. He directly sent a trade invitation to Lin You and put the faith orb on it. Lin You looked happy and followed suit. Not for a while. The deal was reached, and the faith orb fell into his hands smoothly. All of a sudden, he has 2 high-level faith orbs, which is 2,000 faith power, including the original 2,500 beliefs. It is only 500 short of being able to rise to the 8th level, and it is inevitable that I will be a little excited. After all, according to his current faith acquisition speed, 1,000 faith points will take about a month. He thinks it's worth spending 20 million for a month. The big deal is to make more money when the money is gone, but if this golden opportunity is missed, it will be difficult to meet again. The surrounding lords watching the show didn't seem to expect that Lin You would be able to take out something of the same value in exchange for the faith orb, and looked at him in surprise one by one. There are also many people who have bad thoughts and silently look at it. But in the end, no one had any plans to make a move. Gu Yan. Because someone who can take out such a valuable thing is definitely not weak. And here is the range of the floating archipelago, which can be teleported back to the territory at any time, and it is not easy to asterisk things. There is no need to offend a powerful lord for treasures, that's all. Under the gaze of the lords, Lin You disappeared directly onto the platform, and teleported back to the territory. As soon as he came under the world tree, he took out the 2 faith orbs he had just obtained. Do you want to use advanced faith orb? Use? A firm voice echoes the territory. Next second, the faith orb in Lin Yu's hand turned into 2 streams of light and merged into the world tree. At the same time, a huge force also fed back into his body, constantly nourishing his limbs and improving his physical strength. He felt that his current strength should be similar to the 7th order peak of a cultivator. Of course, in the case of not using Godhead fragments. If he activates the 4-leaf clover's attribute bonus skill with regular power, his combat power can even approach the 8th rank. Including the equipment on the body, the battle with the 8th order is completely out of the question. Just click on the territory interface and take a look. There is still 515 points of faith to reach 5,000. Lin You couldn't help sighing that the harvest from this trip was unexpectedly huge, and it could almost be said to be a qualitative leap. But before that, he had to do some preparations. After thinking about it, he directly opened the private chat interface and sent a few messages to brother Zhonglei, who had previously cooperated with him to open a flight route, asking about the 8th order lord. Brother Lin, are you going to rise to the 8th rank so soon? Soon, Zhonglei replied to the message, as if shocked by Lin Yu's upgrade speed. Yeah, it shouldn't take long, so I want to ask about the 8th order first. Lin Yu directly replied with a message. This is easy to say. If you are at the 8th rank, you should have heard a lot, brother. The resources for recruiting and upgrading troops are directly increased by 10 times. Well, I did hear some, but I'm not sure. It really takes 100 territorial essences to rise from the 8th rank to the 9th rank. Yes, it is 100, so after the 8th rank, it is basically difficult to get the 9th rank arms, and the strength can only be improved from other places. Is that really the case? Lin Yu's eyes were dignified, and everything else was okay, but the big deal was to wait for the woodland upgrade to recruit again. But it is not easy for his royal family to upgrade, and he has so many royal families. 5 royal families are 500 essences of the 8th order territory. Where can he get it? After all, those 8th order lords are not fools. After hesitating for a while, he changed to a more euphemistic way to ask questions about this. What? Brother, do you have any troops that are reluctant to repatriate and use the essence of the territory to upgrade? Zhonglei is worthy of being a veteran 8th order lord, and he can see his intentions at a glance and ask strangely. There are indeed a few, so I wanted to ask if there is any other way. Don't say it, there is a way. Any solution? Lin Yu's eyes lit up. He just asked casually, but he didn't expect it to be. Actually, it's not really a solution. That is, I have seen an upgrade scroll in the 8th order battlefield before. It seems to use magic energy to upgrade the troops to the same level as myself. Yes. It can only be upgraded to the same level as myself level. At the end of the news, Zhonglei seemed to confirm his thoughts, and his tone became positive. But I don't know. This news fell into Lin Yu's eyes, but it was like Tian Yin. He was not worried that the royal family could not be upgraded to a higher level. Rather, they are worried that they will not be able to keep up with their level. When he rises to the 9th rank in the future, and the royal arms are still the 8th rank, he will be very passive. But if there is this upgrade scroll, his problem will be solved directly, and it is no longer difficult. It seems that this time he has to go to the 8th order battlefield to make a foray. After all, the more you go, the more chance you have. Thinking of this, he He sent a message to thank him, and then asked other precautions about the Eighth Order. Zhonglei also knew everything and answered his questions patiently. Until evening comes. Lin You finally understood the basic situation, and was very fortunate, because he learned from the chat that other than recruiting resources for upgrading troops, other upgrading resources are not so exaggerated. For example, the Tower of the Arms he cares about most, the Eighth Order research only takes 20 days. It has doubled from the Seventh Order, and is still within an acceptable range. Otherwise, if it rises to 100 days, it would be too stupid to be able to summon the troops of the current level even when the 10,000 Realms battlefield is opened. Luckily the worst didn't happen. If so, as long as he rises to Tier 8 20 days before the Battle of 10,000 Worlds opens, he can catch up to recruit Tier 8 troops. It really doesn't work. The big deal is to use the willow that follows the territory to upgrade first. And this is not a problem. The issue is, now is the time to open the next Battle of 10,000 Realms. There's only 1 month left. That is to say, he needs to accumulate enough 500 faith in 10 days, as well as the magic energy to build the troops, and the resources to upgrade the towers of the troops. This task is not ordinary large. After the 8th rank, excluding other bonuses, the number of troops that can be recruited is 500. Lin You did the math. If half of it is used to create symbiotic moss, there are still about 120 or so, that is, more than 40 million magic energy vacancies. Including the cost of recruiting mutant troops, it is conservatively estimated that it will cost 60 to 70 million, but now he only has 20 million. The gap is not so large. If the blood-sucking ancestors were sold, they would be able to collect another 10 or 20 million. The reason why such a decision was made was because Lin You knew it well. With his current strength, he can't get much benefit in the 7th Order battlefield. After all, there are more or less 188th Orders around those old lords. 1 or 2 is fine. But if there are too many, he is not easy to deal with, and the difficulty of snatching treasures will greatly increase. But the 8th grade is different, because the territorial essence needed to upgrade the arms has increased, so that the 8th Order lords cannot upgrade to many 9th Order arms, and they are basically all 8th Order arms. And his bizarre symbiotic moss can just double the attributes of the troops, highlighting his advantages at once. Even if those 8th Order lords have similar means to improve their attributes, it is impossible to achieve the exaggerated level of direct doubling. This is also the origin of Lin Yu's confidence. In other words, at this time, he already has the capital to upgrade the 8th rank. Next, there's only magic and essence left. Lin Yu looked at the resource interface, and there were 18 7th Order essences. Because of the tight time, he estimates that he can only study the Silver Edge grass for mutation. Other armies are temporarily unable to take into account, so he still needs more territorial essence. Upgrade a Demon King Dragon and a Demon Concubine Dragon as the rushing and reconnaissance arms, and their combined skills are not weak, they have to be kept. Furthermore, it was the 8 Devouring Flowers that had just copied the new skills. Although it's a pity, he can't say how many he can upgrade. After all, he needs a lot of territorial essence. Yeah, keep trying. After closing all the interfaces, Lin You came to the open space to check the status of the troops in the territory. This trip to the church was full of dangers, causing him to lose a lot of troops. He checked carefully. This time, a total of 6 troops in symbiotic moss were lost, and all of them died on the large-scale skills of the Lord Monsters. At the same time, they were also the ones with the lowest experience and the weakest attributes. According to Lin Yu's observation during this period, the highest attributes of the arms with full experience are divided into several steps. Royal Family, 2,500. Rare, 2,250. Normal, 2,000. And each attribute will also change up and down with the characteristics of each type of arms. For example, although King Teng is a royal family, due to its large size and slow movement speed, the agility attribute is much lower than this standard. Another example is the Lingxi skill, which has a strong attack, but is small in size, and its own strength will be relatively weak. Monsters are basically the same way. Of course, individual more special extras. The 6 lost arms have relatively low experience and low attributes, so naturally they cannot resist the skills of the Lord Monsters. This is still Lin Yu's timely response, and discovering the restraining effect of Liang Kui, otherwise the loss may be even greater. After counting the arms and spending more than 2 million mana to make up the arms, the sky has turned completely dark. However, what Lin Yu didn't expect was that, just when he came to the treehouse, and was about to rest, a private chat message suddenly jumped out. Ji Yanchuang, Luoxia City, Lin Yu, my father is awake. Okay, the king is awake. Lin Yu sat up from the bed, and quickly sent a message. Your father woke up. When? Just this afternoon. I just finished everything, so I just sent you a message now. Didn't I disturb your rest? Ji Yanchuang's words revealed exhaustion. If it was before, I'm afraid I would have jumped for joy long ago, and vented my joy with nonsense on the news. No wonder you think about it. It has been more than a month since the king was in a coma, and no one would feel better if he changed it. After pondering for a moment, Lin You sent a message. Don't disturb. Just wake up. Pay attention to rest. You can tell me anything. Okay. Ji Yanchuang's answer was very succinct. It hung empty on the chat interface, looking really tired. After a while, a long message suddenly popped up. I thought about it. For a long time during this time, I used to rely too much on my father. Not only did I not help him, but also caused him to become like this. So I decided to go outside to experience this time alone. I want to change strong enough to be alone. This moment, Ji Yanchuang's aura seemed to have changed. Even through the chat interface, Lin You could feel her determination and firmness. It seems that Ji Xing's serious injury and coma had a great impact on her. But since it is the other party's decision, then Lin You will naturally give his full support, and immediately return a message. This is a good thing, but you should pay attention to safety when you are alone, and you can come to me at any time when you need help. Okay, I will. Then I'll go to rest first. Well, let's talk another day. At this point, the news stopped. Lin You silently looked at the chat interface, feeling a little complicated. That's the way the world is, and what happens will always exceed your expectations. Even a princess like Ji Yanchuang, who was arrogant and out of temper, changed her personality in a short period of time and became much more mature and stable. Gu Yu. This reminded Lin You of the joke they had made in the cave before. Someday he will become emperor, and she will also become the empress standing at the top of the continent. Maybe the next time they meet, they will be one step closer to this goal. With a slight smile, he turned off the interface and lay back on the bed. News of the king's awakening spread early the next morning. As soon as Lin You woke up, he saw that the lords were talking about this on the chat channel. There is excitement, and joy. After all, the life and death of the king is related to the national destiny of the entire principality. They didn't want the great wild country to fall into turmoil like the Tianyan Principality and the Yuo Principality before. Fortunately, none of this happened, so they finally breathed a sigh of relief. The chat atmosphere also became cheerful, and they began to chat about recent experiences. When I went to the sanctuary to buy equipment yesterday, I heard that there seems to be a new king in the dwarf kingdom. Didn't you say there was still turmoil some time ago? Why did a king suddenly appear? Then the king should be of the 11th order. I really want to see what he looks like. Just you. Forget it. How can you see such a dignified king? If you want to see it, I want to see it. If the dwarf king is in a good mood and builds me a 10th order equipment, then I will be prosperous. If you want to eat fart, whoever urinating yellow quickly come over to wake him up. The chat channel was full of joy, while Lin You was puzzled. The dwarf kingdom has a new king. Is it Mugen? Counting the time, Mugen has been going to the dwarf kingdom for quite some time. I don't know what's going on over there. I have to go and see. After thinking about it, he got up. After a simple wash and a bite to eat, he walked directly into the gate of the secret realm to the sanctuary, and then wandered around the floating archipelago, inquiring about the news by the way. But don't know. At this time, a major event was taking place in the sanctuary city. The shopkeeper. The big thing is bad. Come out and have a look. Inside the Shifang pavilion, a loud cry suddenly sounded. A shop clerk rushed in from the outside in a hurry. Lu Zengxing, who was still discussing with the ancestors of the Lu family in the inner hall, was suddenly interrupted by this shout, and came outside angrily. What happened to shouting so loudly? What's the decency? Yes, it's the dwarves, the new king of the dwarves, who has appeared in the sanctuary of the dwarves. The guy put his hands on his knees, and said out of breath. Lu Zengxing was still angry, but when he heard the words, he was shocked. What you said is true. A majestic voice sounded. The ancestor of the Lu family, who was resting in the inner hall, also appeared in the hall, his eyes fixed on the man. It's true. I saw it with my own eyes, and many big figures from the forces rushed over. Seeing the ancestor of the Lu family, the man's feet softened and he almost fell to the ground, not even speaking very well. However, the ancestor of the Lu family did not give him a chance to react, and said quickly, "Very good, Zengxing. You come with me and visit the new king of the dwarves. It is good." When the voice fell, the two of them left the store directly under the surprised eyes of everyone and rushed in the direction of the dwarf tribe station. In the sanctuary, the dwarves have opened their own kingdom station, which is specially used to sell some equipment, and it is not far from the center of the sanctuary. And this time, outside the entire dwarf station, a large number of teams gathered. One by one, terrifying beings gathered from all directions to visit the new king of the dwarf kingdom. On the surrounding streets, a large number of passers-by gathered, exclaiming constantly, because they found that the 10th Order powerhouses, that were rarely seen on weekdays, appeared frequently. There are a few people, whose auras are even closer to the 11th Order, making the whole surrounding air agitated. But even such a strong man, at this time, he was still surrounded by a dwarf team, with a polite expression on his face. If Lin You were here, he would definitely be able to recognize it at a glance. The dwarf at the center was the Magun he knew. It's just that Magun at this time is a little different from when he left. He not only wore a dark gold armor, but also wore a golden crown symbolizing kingship on his head. Even the hammer of the of war, the sacred object of the dwarves, was carried behind his back, exuding a fascinating power all over his body. It is not much weaker than those 10th Order powerhouses, not to mention the dwarf next to him with a dark spear on his back, with a terrifying aura that directly reached the level of the 11th Order. This person is the patriarch of the Dark Spear clan, Reckon Dark Spear. It is also the highest combat power of the dwarf kingdom at present. How could it be him? Lu Zengxing, who had just arrived, looked at Magun, who was being guarded in the middle, in surprise, and his eyes widened. What's wrong? The ancestor of the Lu family looked back in confusion. Ancestor, the new king of the dwarves, I have seen it before. Lu Zengxing couldn't help swallowing his saliva, shocked to the extreme. The dwarf I saw beside Lin You before was actually the king of the dwarf kingdom. Rao is that he has experienced strong winds and waves for decades, but he is still so shocked by the fact that he is almost speechless. If he remembers correctly, Lin You said before that the dwarf was his friend, right? That is to say, the king of the dwarves is actually friends with Lin You. Lycan, I'll leave it to you. Here, I'll go to rest first. In the crowd, Magun said impatiently to the Darkspear tribe patriarch beside him, I'll take care of it, king. Reckon Darkspear nodded respectfully, without the slightest imposing manner of being an 11th Order powerhouse. This reaction immediately made Magun widen his eyes in dissatisfaction. I said it, I'm just taking a name, don't call me that. Please forgive me, king. I cannot go against the will of the god of war. You are the only king of our dwarves. As the leader of the Darkspear clan, Reckon was blessed with the power of the **** of war, arguably the most revered dwarf for the god of war. Since Magun successfully created the hammer of the god of war, it is the person chosen by the god of war, and he naturally wants to consider him the king. Really stubborn. Magun couldn't help muttering, forget it, call it whatever you like. After speaking, he turned around and left, and disappeared into the gate of the resident after a while, which also made those who came to visit show eager expressions. But with such an 11th Order powerhouse standing in their way, they didn't dare to do anything, so they could only watch Magun leave. Ancestor, what should we do? Outside the crowd, Lu Zengxing asked the ancestor beside him, in a low voice. Looking at this, the dwarves are still reluctant to interact with people, but it doesn't matter. Don't we still have an important relationship? This is our Lu family's opportunity. At this time, the ancestor of the Lu family had already heard Lu Zengxing talk about Lin You and Magowan, and there was a different kind of brilliance in his old eyes. What does the ancestor mean? Where is young Master Lin? Lu Zengxing couldn't help asking. That's right. The ancestor nodded silently. His eyes were deep. Although we don't know how deep their relationship is, we can't miss this opportunity and rely on that young Master Lin to get on this big boat. When you go back this time, you must find an opportunity to get closer to that young Master Lin. Don't worry about anything else. I'll take care of it if anything happens. Yes. Lu Zengxing was overjoyed. Although he is the third youngest in the Lu family, his momentum has been suppressed by the oldest and second oldest. Now that he has the backing of his ancestors, he suddenly becomes more confident. At the same time, he also made up his mind secretly in his heart that he must maintain a good relationship with Lin You. That's all. After a fun time, the crowd outside the dwarves station gradually dispersed. Many powerhouses who had received the news from all over came from all over the place, and all of them were blocked and kept out. Only a few races or countries that have a good relationship with the dwarves can enter the dwarves station, which is simply envious of others. I heard that the kings of the dwarves of all dynasties have the ability to create 11th Order equipment. I don't know if it is true. It shouldn't be wrong. I just saw an 11th Order king go in. It is estimated that he is looking for equipment. Really or not? King of the 11th Order. I don't know who would be so lucky to have the dwarf king create equipment himself. It is estimated that the dwarf kingdom has just returned to order. I am afraid it will take some time. You see, those people have been turned away. Look, someone else has passed by. Suddenly, A low voice interrupted the discussion of those passersby. I saw a plainly dressed young man suddenly appearing outside the dwarf clan station, walking straight towards the heavily guarded station gate. What's the situation? Did he want to walk in directly? Doesn't he know that the dwarves are not welcome now? It is estimated that some fool wants to try his luck. I bet 100 magic crystals. And I bet that he will be blasted out before he reaches the gate. Then I bet he'll be blown away when he walks 5 meters. Small. The layout is small. I bet 10 meters. Everyone in the discussion looked at the figure that was getting closer and closer to the dwarf station, and they were all guessing how he would be driven away by the dwarf warriors. Some even started gambling games on the spot, betting enthusiastically, and that young man was none other than that. It was Lin You, who had just received the news that he had arrived from the floating archipelago. Originally, he was still shopping for goods on the floating islands, but suddenly heard the news that the king of the dwarf kingdom had arrived in the sanctuary. So he rushed over to find out. But what he didn't expect was, as soon as he approached the dwarf station, a surprised cry suddenly sounded behind him. Lin You, why are you here? Lin You paused and turned around. Just when he saw Lays rushing back from outside with a group of dwarves, he couldn't help but look surprised. Lays, why are you here too? This dwarf was the one who had come to his territory to look for Magun before. I didn't expect to meet you here by chance. This is the residence of our dwarves. Of course I will be here. Lays led the team to Lin You. Just as our king is about to send someone to inform you, you are here. Would you like to come in with me? The king, you said, could it be Magun? Lin You asked suspiciously. He is now our king, his majesty. Lays looked respectful. Have to. He guessed right. Although Lin You had long expected this outcome, he couldn't help but feel a little surprise. The guy who lived next to his territory, and even bargained with him for a few caddies of food, actually became the king of the dwarf kingdom. Thinking back on the scene when he met Magun, he really couldn't imagine what the guy would look like with the crown on Valley. Come on, come in with me. Our majesty is looking for you. Lays continued. All right. I just wanted to go in and have a look. Lin You didn't say much, and walked directly into the dwarf station with Lays, and disappeared inside the gate after a while. When they could no longer be seen, the people who were watching in the distance reacted, all with a ghostly expression. Am I right? Did he just go in like that? Those dwarves are so polite to him. Who is he? Just now, even the powerhouses of the 10th Order were blocked from the outside. Isn't his identity more honorable than a 10th Order powerhouse? There was a lot of discussion in the crowd, and they all looked at the direction where Lin You disappeared, and they all forgot about the bet just now. And the other side. After passing through the gate, Lin You quickly followed Lays to a huge building like a fortress, and by the way inquired about what happened in the dwarf kingdom during this time. Unexpectedly, the whole process of Magun's return to the kingdom was surprisingly smooth. The patriarchs of the dwarf tribes all chose to surrender as soon as they saw the Thor's hammer in Magun's hand, and no one stood up to oppose it. Then Magun was put on the shelf, accepted the inheritance of the god of war, his strength soared to nearly 10th Order, and he became the king of the dwarves. Outrageous on Nima. This made Lin You couldn't help but blush. When would he give him an inheritance like a of nature? His requirements are not too high, and he can just upgrade to the 3rd or 4th rank. Isn't that too much? Thanks to him working so hard to collect resources. Look at people, and you will go straight to the pinnacle of life. Okay, the king is in there. Come in with me, was thinking. Lays' voice suddenly sounded, pulling him back. Lin You raised his head, and found himself outside a heavy hall guarded by heavy soldiers. Looking through the hall, I saw a figure I hadn't seen for a long time, sitting in the first place and listening to the report of the dwarf below. Lin You. With just one glance, Magun in the hall found Lin You, and stood up from his position. Magna, why are you dressed like this? Lin You followed Lays into the hall, looking strangely at Magun, who was wearing purple gold armor and a crown. Unexpectedly, at this moment, an old dwarf beside Magun flashed and suddenly appeared in front of him, blocking his way. Lycan, don't be rude, he's my best friend. Magun hurriedly stopped and ran over in a hurry. Your Majesty, forgive me, I didn't know he was your friend. Lycan stepped aside and gave up his seat. Lin You was shocked. Just at that moment, he felt an extremely terrifying power from this old dwarf, not even weaker than the King Shenyao, who had not yet become an emperor. I have seen the king. I have seen my father. At this time, Lays also came up and saluted Magun and Lycan. Father. Lin You was stunned for a moment, then looked at Lays in surprise. You don't know yet, right? Lays is the son of Reckon, the chief of the Darkspear tribe. Magun came over and explained with a smile. Lin You heard the words suddenly. No wonder Lays is young, but he is so powerful. He is the son of the clan chief. So, this terrifying old dwarf is the patriarch of the Darkspear tribe. Darkspear dwarf of the 11th tier. Under the blessing of the power of the of war, the strength of the 12th order can be exerted for a short time. There really is such a powerful existence in the dwarves. Shocked, he couldn't help but say, Magern, it's not me who said you king. It's a pity that it's inappropriate. Can it be a pity? The powerhouse of the 11th order. If it were him, he would have been running to that one long ago, and he would not leave. As a result, this Magan actually wanted to quit. Your Majesty, I think this turn guest is right. Hearing Lin Yu's words, Lycan nodded in agreement immediately, and even looked at Lin Yu's eyes became much kinder. What's good about being a king? I don't care, Magan said, blowing his beard. Anyway, I only promised them to be king for a period of time and leave when they stabilize. How can this be done? Your Majesty, if you leave, what will happen to our dwarf kingdom? Lei said hurriedly. They definitely don't want to see it. And how could the king of the dwarf race live in a human territory? Not to mention being ridiculed. What should I do in case of danger? Even if the dwarf king is not well protected, they are not worthy of the protection of the of war. Otherwise, we will establish an ultra-long-distance teleportation formation between the dwarf capital and His Majesty's tribe, so that you don't have to run around. At this time, Lycan suddenly proposed, good guy. A teleportation formation is established between the dwarf king's capital and Huangsha City. This is almost across half of the continent, and even the ultra-long-distance teleportation array will consume extremely huge resources. The dwarves are too rich, right? Lin Yu was shocked, but at the same time very excited. If this can establish a teleportation formation between the dwarf kingdom and Yellow Sand City, even if it is an ultra-long-distance teleportation formation, then the meaning is completely different. It is equivalent to establishing a relationship between him and the dwarf kingdom, which is much more precious than any magic resource. And in this way, Magan no longer has to worry about his people running away and even attract a group of dwarves to live on his side. Once he later reaches Tier 10, establish a duchy, it will be a veritable country of forging, attracting the quartet to come to the DPRK. The benefits to him are absolutely immeasurable. Can you really build a teleportation array? Magan also seemed to be a little moved. Kai questioned. If this can be done, then as the king of dwarves, it will also be beneficial to the development of his own people. Of course. Seeing him let go, Lycan replied quickly, as long as His Majesty is willing, it can be established at any time. Nonsense. As long as the king of the dwarves can be left behind. What's so difficult about the teleportation formation? What's more, the dwarves are famous for forging the continent, and there are countless people who come to ask for equipment every day. Will they be short of this money? That's why Lycan almost didn't blink when he answered. Lin Yu's eyelids jumped. To know. Even his territorial teleportation array requires 500 mana to teleport 1 kilometer. He didn't know how big half the continent was, but it was definitely not small. The resources consumed by one teleportation are absolutely astronomical. Even this can be said without blushing and heartbeat. Just how rich this dwarf clan is. Lin Yu, what do you think? Just thinking about it. Magan suddenly looked at him begging. Of course I have no problem. Just don't ask me to pay. Lin Yu shrugged. He is poor now, but he has no money to build a teleportation array. And he didn't know how to establish long-distance teleportation either. It doesn't matter. The teleportation array is fully covered by our dwarves. As long as His Majesty can stay, everything can be said. Reckon secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and the smile finally returned to his face. He felt that this human race was simply the lucky star of the dwarves. A major issue that has plagued their dwarven kingdom has just been resolved. Let him see Lin Yu even more pleasing to the eye than other human races. Okay, now that it's decided, let's do it this way. When the time comes, let someone go to his territory with Lin Yu to establish a teleportation formation, and then send someone to help guard it. Seeing that there was no objection from each of them, Magan issued an order directly. He is now the king of dwarves. When the two of Lycan and his son heard the words, they immediately looked happy, and they hurriedly took their orders, and started to arrange the establishment of the teleportation array. When they were far away, and only he and Lin Yu were left in the hall, Magan's tense expression instantly collapsed. The annoying guy is finally gone. You can find a place to sit by yourself. He waved to Lin Yu, and sat down on the chair next to him. How could he still have the half-pointed majesty he had just now? Sure enough, it was the Magan that Lin Yu knew. Is it really so tiring to be king? Lin Yu snickered secretly, came to sit next to him, picked up the fruit and took a few bites. Tired? Very tired. When you establish a principality, you will know that there are a lot of people around you, all day long, just like flies. Magan picked up the tea and drank it. Then he took off the crown on his head, and threw it on the table, as if it were some kind of shackles pressing his head. Lin Yu glanced at the information of the crown, but was shocked, because this crown is actually an 11th order equipment. Equipment name, God of War Crown. Equipment level, level 11. Characteristic 1. Obtain the blessing of the God of War, strength level +1. Characteristic 2. Obtain the blessing of the God of War, majesty level +1. Characteristic 3. Get the blessing of the God of War, luck level +1. Introduction. One of the God of War suits. Only the king of the dwarves can wear it. This Nima is simply an artifact. Lin Yu's eyes almost popped out. I thought it was just a decoration to look good, but I didn't expect it to be such a powerful thing. What is the concept of directly upgrading one level of strength? It is simply equivalent to the permanent version of the power of the Darkspear tribe God of War. Is this the heritage of the dwarves? Too exaggerated, right? At the same time, Lin Yu also noticed that this crown turned out to be one of the suits. In other words, this crown is actually a set with the dark gold heavy armor on Magun's body, and the hammer of the God of War. Only the Dwarf King can control it. Such an explanation makes sense. This suit is obviously used to consolidate the kingship of the new Dwarf King. Even if Magun is not strong now, his future potential is terrifying. Even if those dwarf tribes were not for belief, they would take this factor into account, and they would so obediently recognize Magun as their king. Mag, what are the attributes of your suit? Lin Yu stared at the dark gold heavy armor on Mag and the God of War hammer next to him, and couldn't help asking. God of War hammer, he knows, is to increase the forging level. If the heavy armor is estimated to be a defensive feature, it is very perverted, when you think about it. But what he was more curious about was the attributes of the God of War suit. Gu Chen. Oh, you said that these pieces of equipment seem to be abilities like the coming of the God of War. I haven't used them yet, so I don't know. Reckon can't say that they shouldn't use them when the dwarves are alive and dead. Magun scratched his head and said, but he didn't hide anything from Lin Yu. Lin Yu was stunned when he heard the words. God of War is coming. What does that mean? This name sounds awesome, and it must be an incredible skill. I don't know if there will be a chance to see Magun use it in the future. This is estimated to be difficult. After all, it is only a few empires that can make the dwarves fall into a crisis of life and death. This is still under the condition that Magun has not risen to the 11th level. If he reaches the 11th level in the future, even those empires will have to give him face. By the way, the 10th order equipment you asked me to help build before, I asked a clan to build it for you. At this moment, Magun suddenly thought of something, and took out an ivory necklace from the storage space. It's done so soon. Lin Yu was shocked and quickly took the necklace. The necklace was a bit cold to start with, as it seemed to contain an icy aura. The lower part of the entire necklace is made of ivory connected in series, and the main body is also inlaid with the crystal gun head he obtained at the top of the Tower of Sin. This is what I asked a 10th order clan to grind and refine the ivory you gave me into the essence, and then add other materials to create it. The spearhead has also been refined and embedded in it. You can see if it fits. Magun explained. Lin Yu heard the words. His eyes could not help falling on the necklace, and an interface appeared. Equipment name, Ivory Ice Pendant. Equipment level, 10th order. Feature 1. Generate an ice shield around the body, reduce damage received by 25%, and freeze the attacker, continuously consuming the power of rules. Characteristic 2. Add ice attribute to the attack and reduce the speed of the hit enemy by 10%. Characteristic 3. When receiving a fatal blow, the ivory ice pendant will be broken, instead of the attack. Invalid for wearers above 10th order. Characteristics. Universal. For each piece of Godhead shard the user has, the effect of the equipment is increased by 10%. Additional. Soul Gun. 18% reduced damage from spiritual attacks. Introduction. Made of Zuambingman ivory, it contains a strong icy aura, which can freeze enemies. How is it? Are you satisfied? It was made into defensive equipment according to your requirements. Satisfied. Very satisfied. Lin Yu nodded heavily, and there was an undisguised excitement in his eyes. When he saw the 10th order Black Bull hard armor before, he wanted a similar life-saving equipment. Unexpectedly, Magun really created it for him. As such, in addition to the peace field and random teleportation, he has another life-saving means. And it is different from the Zuanyu hard armor. This ivory ice pendant has 10% less damage reduction, but 10% more deceleration. Coupled with the spiritual attack resistance of the crystal gun head, it can be said to be both offensive and defensive. It is definitely the best in 10th order equipment. In this dwarf kingdom, there are indeed hidden dragons and crouching tigers. In addition to Magun, there are dwarves who can create such equipment, and he really earned it this time. Without hesitation, put the pendant directly on the neck and hide it with clothes. Then he stretched out his hand, a leaf condensed, covered with a layer of ice blue color, and shot towards the opposite wooden table. Snapped. The leaves penetrated the table, submerged in it. A layer of frost also appeared on the gap, freezing half of the table. This is similar to the P effect of the ice shooter. However, all his attacks will have a freezing effect, which reduces the enemy's speed by 10%, which is 12% if you count the Godhead fragments. Good equipment. Lin you can actually use the power of rules, Mugin said in surprise. It was the first time he saw Lin Yu take action, and he was inevitably a little surprised. For him, Lin Yu had nothing to hide, nodded and said, "Well, I know a little bit, but don't tell others." "Don't worry, even if you ask me to talk about this kind of thing, I don't bother to talk about it." Magun curled his lips. What he likes most is forging. How can he be interested in these things? This is also the reason why Lin Yu is so relieved, that's all. After chatting in the hall for a long time, Lin Yu was escorted by a group of dwarves and left the station. Mugin did not leave directly with Lin Yu, because his current identity is very sensitive. If he is with Lin Yu rashly, he will easily be targeted, which is not good for Lin Yu, so we can only talk about it after the teleportation array is established. This also made Lin Yu more deeply aware of his weakness, and even dealing with the dwarf kingdom had to be done in secret. It's frustrating and helpless. After all, his strength is too weak. It seems that he needs to improve his strength more. Lin Yu muttered to himself, riding the Demon King Dragon, and leaving the station with a group of dwarves who were also riding flying mounts, and flew towards the floating islands. These dwarves were all sent by Reckon to set up a teleportation formation, with him back to the territory. It is said that the establishment of an ultra-long-distance teleportation array requires a lot of resources and time, so more dwarves were sent over. The entire team swept through the sky in a mighty manner, attracting all the eyes of pedestrians on the street below. However, due to their fast flight speed, they were fleeting, and they did not make any commotion soon. The team came to the floating islands. Under Lin Yu's spiritual connection, the dwarves were brought into his territory through the teleportation function. Begin to build a teleportation formation in the mountains of the dwarf tribe in Huangshicheng. Lord, are you back? Just after leaving the territory, Lin Yu met Shiwei Changgui, who was arranging construction in the forest. Vaguely, you can still hear the roars and shouts of beasts, which spread into the forest from the direction of the Gobi. What's wrong? Why is there so much noise over there? Lin Yu asked. It's the beast tide that happened in the Gobi. Many monsters of the 6th and 7th ranks ran out from the depths, and Commander Wei has already brought people to deal with them. Shiwei Changgui replied respectfully. Beast tide. Lin Yu's eyes moved. Yes, there are more and more monsters in the Gobi recently, so they often form a beast swarm to run outside. But Lord, don't worry, Commander Wei can handle this matter properly. Really? Well, I'll go take a look. After telling Shiwei Changgui about the construction of the teleportation array by the dwarves, Lin Yu rode the Demon King Dragon, and flew out of the forest, heading for the Gobi as predicted. After a while, they saw a large number of surging monsters madly gathering towards them, fighting fiercely with the Yellow Sand City team outside the forest defense line. Come on, kill all these monsters for me. Outside the line of defense, Wei Gang led the team to fight fiercely with the monsters, slashing the monsters that rushed up to the sword. At this time, he has broken through to the 7th Order. Under the blessing of the 8th Order equipment, it can be said that it is invincible, and the swordsmanship is greatly opened. Wherever the eyes go, there are large surging monsters and cultivators, shouting and killing, and roaring together. There are many cultivators who have just arrived in Huangsha City, hunting monsters and collecting resources excitedly. After all, this is a rare opportunity. Lin Yu didn't expect it. Before you know it, the people in the territory have been able to spontaneously form defenses to defend against foreign enemies, and protect the security of the territory. This also made him feel a lot more comfortable, and he no longer had to work hard and deal with the problem of defense by himself. Seeing that the beast tide was easily blocked, there was no danger. He didn't disturb their battle, and drove the Demon King Dragon to turn around and leave, and flew directly into the dwarf tribe to tell them about Magun. When they learned that Magun became the king of the dwarves, and wanted to establish a teleportation array here, the people of Magun were shocked and even caused an uproar. But most of all, it's the excitement. In particular, Magun's father burst into tears and called for the blessing of the ancestors. After all, it was his son who became the king of the dwarves. As a father, his face was naturally bright, and his body became a lot straighter. The same goes for the other dwarves of the older generation. Those young dwarves were excited, waiting for the teleportation formation to be completed, ready to go to the dwarf kingdom to see it. In short, it was a jubilation, which made the whole tribe more lively than usual until noon. Lin Yu returned to the territory. According to those dwarves, it takes about 3 days to build the teleportation formation. Naturally, it is impossible for him to do this and wait for 3 days. He has to go to the main plane of monsters to collect resources. Before leaving, he also looked at the revenue of the territory. After the opening of the route in the past few days, the daily net revenue has reached about 200,000, and the speed is not generally fast. I haven't watched it for a few days, and Huangsha City's funds have accumulated to more than 3 million. At this rate, he should be able to reach nearly 10 million before the Battle of 10,000 Realms opens, bringing him one step closer to his goal. After such a long time of investment and dedication, Huangsha Cheng finally started to make money for him, which is a blessing. Close the interface and go through the rift gate. Lin You soon followed the flow of people and came to the main plane of monsters. Simply identify the direction, then ride the Demon King Dragon, and fly to the depths of the plane when yesterday. Because of the secret realm, he has deeply understood the danger in the land of the dead. Not only may you encounter powerful monsters at any time, but you will also encounter many Tier 8 lords, so you must be careful. So as soon as he flew to the periphery of the land of the dead, he let the Demon King Dragon land on the ground, and switched to using the blade Shadow Lion to hurry. Unexpectedly, he had just entered the land of the dead when a private chat message popped up suddenly. It was a message from Yan Lai. Brother Lin You, are you on the Monster Master Plane? Situ Jian and I found that a plant-based SSS level Lord Monster can't be dealt with. The 8th Tier 1 lacks a cure. I want to ask you to come with me. Plant-type Lord Monster. Lin Yu was slightly startled, his eyes shining brightly. According to his observations in the past few days, he found that the rewards obtained by killing the Lord Monsters are very likely to be similar to the attributes of the monsters themselves. For example, when he killed the blood-sucking ancestor, the rewards he got were basically related to the devil. In other words, the chances of plant monsters appearing that he can use treasures will be very high. He didn't dare to hesitate, and replied immediately, "Where is the location?" "I'm on the periphery of the land of the dead, and I'll rush over now." "Not far, just..." Yan Lai quickly sent the location. As expected by Lin Yu, it was in the land of the dead area. However, it is far away from where he is, and it is still inside the land of the dead. But no way. For the plant-type treasure, he still had to go. After summoning Lingxi, he directly accelerated to the depths. Fortunately, there were no dangers along the way. It took a full hour and a half. Finally, according to the location information, he came to the depths of the land of the dead, outside a hidden valley, and found Yan Lai and Sijujian, who were already waiting there. "Lin Yu, here." Gu Fierce. Seeing Lin Yu appear, Yan Lai immediately waved to him. At this time, Yan Lai and Sijujian had successfully risen to the 8th rank, and their momentum was more than doubled. Lin Yu came to them, and asked in a low voice, "Where's the Lord Monster?" "Where? It's inside." Sijujian pointed to the inside of the valley. Lin Yu followed his line of sight to the valley, and saw that there was a huge plant-type monster living in the wide valley filled with death. That plant is tall. The bottom part composed of vine rhizomes is nearly 20 meters long, and at the place where the rhizomes converge, a huge thorn ball spore hangs on it, stretching out terrifying tentacles all around. At the top of the tentacles, there are terrifying mouths like piranhas, twisting in the air. Even around the entire valley, there are terrifying creatures with piranha heads, and it feels like they can split their heads and bite people like parasitic beasts at any time. Looks extremely creepy. Name: Flower of Horror Ghidorah. Lord. Race: Plant. Level: Level 8, SSS. Strength: 4,600, plus 4,600. Physique: 4,950, plus 4,950. Agility: 3,200, plus 3,200. Spirit: 4,355, plus 4,355. Skills: Regenerating Spores, Spreading Fear, Life Linking, Chaos. All attributes increased by 100%. Introduction: Plant monsters with very powerful vitality, the incarnation of fear and immortality. Name: Piranha Horror. Normal. Race: Plant. Level: Level 8, SSS. Strength: 1,900, plus 1,900. Physique: 2,200, plus 2,200. Agility: 2,200, plus 2,200. Spirit: 2,000, plus 2,000. Skills: Gnawing, Corrosive Venom, Self-Destruction, Chaos. All attributes increased by 100%. Introduction: The summoned object of the Flower of Horror is transformed by regenerating spores. After death, it will cause a strong self-destruction with a venom attack. Nearly full physical attributes. The strength is also as high as more than 9,000 points. What's even more disgusting is that the terrifying monster summoned by this Lord Monster actually has self-destruction skills. And there are so many. It's no wonder that even Yan Lai, who has risen to the 8th rank, can't deal with it. I'm afraid that the little monsters are enough for him to drink a pot for two. After all, the two of them have only just risen to the 8th rank not long ago. See, those little monsters' self-destruction skills. We tried it once and failed, but we suffered from the loss of no treatment. Fortunately, we escaped quickly, Yan Lai said in a voice that only 3 people could hear. It seemed that they had tried once before Lin You arrived. Since this is the case, why not directly attack the Lord's body? Lin You asked. No. Situ Jian shook his head. The 3rd skill of that Lord Monster is very troublesome. The more summoned objects around it, the higher its physique will be, and in the end it will not be able to break the defense at all. Can't even break the defense? LinYu was shocked. Even 2 8th Order Lords can't break through the defense. How high is that? When the summoned object is killed, it will self-destruct, and if you don't kill it, you can't break the defense. Is this Lord Monster just used to disgust people? Otherwise, why do you think we came to you? Yan Lai pouted from the side. The implication is that we can't do it. Situ Jian ignored his tricks, and looked at Lin Yu. How is it? Are you sure about the treatment? The self-destruction power of those summons is not strong, and our units can resist at least 5 or 6 times. My territorial sacred artifact has a defense bonus, so it should be able to resist a little more, Yan Lai added. Lin Yu thought about it for a while, and said, it should be possible. My units have group healing skills, and there are a lot of single-target healing skills. He now has 25 Huijing units, not counting Lingxi. Among them, the goblin makes 10 and the elves make 15, and all of them are proliferating arms, and the number is directly quadrupled. Healing damage from self-destruct should be fine. The only pity is that the Halo skills can't be applied to other lords' units. Otherwise the recovery speed of the sacred relics in his territory will be increased, and the grasp will be greater. Have group therapy? That should be fine. Since this is the case, what are you waiting for? Get ready to do it. I will be responsible for opening the way, Situ, and you will cover it. Lin Yu will be responsible for the treatment and support depending on the situation. Okay, Lin Yu responded and began to prepare on the spot. Less than 5 minutes later, the 3 of them appeared together and walked into the valley. At the same time, the flower of horror in the center of the valley also found them, and with a roar, he frantically twisted the tentacles on his body, and gave orders to the piranha horror around him. In an instant, the horrors in the whole valley rushed towards them with a roar. The team was so huge that it numbered nearly 2,000 SSS-level monsters. Rush! Raise them for me! Yan Lai waved his hand directly, and 500 wild orcs appeared in an instant, carrying a giant axe on their shoulders with him. Without showing weakness, rushed towards the army of terror, and went straight to meet him. In the rear, Lin Yu and Situ Jian also summoned their own troops to join the battle. Roar! A roar echoed throughout the valley. The stern wild orcs still adhere to the previous brave tactics. Under his leadership, the momentum continued to rise, and he collided fiercely with the army of horrors that rushed over. For a time, the two sides fought frantically and blood splashed. Situ Jian's movements are not slow either. A casual move is a large number of phantom montizes and golden-winged beetles, which are a bit more exaggerated than what they have seen before. It seems that after rising to the 8th level, his insect racial talent began to play a role. The huge army of insects turned into a black cloud, and drove towards the remaining piranha terrors. Together with the stern orc army, keep them all out. Bang! At this time, several piranha terrors were killed, and their bodies exploded, turning into large pieces of corrosive venom and sputtering around. Yan Lai, who was at the forefront, was spattered accidentally, and even the few wild orcs around him were corroded into large wounds. Go! This self-destruction is so disgusting. Yan Lai scolded and slashed the terror in half with an axe. Then there was a series of self-destruction, and even Situjian's insect troops were constantly blown up and messed up at this time. Several dazzling green lights lit up behind them, shrouding their troops at once. The wound that was originally blown out also quickly recovered in this green light, and at the same time, a layer of damage reduction shield was placed on the body, which suddenly relieved the pressure on the two of them. Fuck! This healing skill is a bull, and it even comes with a shield. Yan Lai turned around with wide-eyed eyes, just in time to see the legion of elves, beside Lin Yu holding a high staff. This should be a trigger-type treasure, right? Situ Jian was well informed, and saw the secret at a glance, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. Yes, it is a protective treasure. It can also reduce injuries by 30% by improving the treatment effect. You can attack with confidence. Lin Yu nodded and said, and then asked several other elves to continue the treatment. Haha, It's cool. Sure enough, it's different if there is treatment. I'm going to have an outbreak. Remember to breastfeed me? Yanlai laughed wildly, finally without any worries. He directly activated the skill that he obtained, the Beast Blood Boiling artifact. Suddenly, a red light appeared on all the wild orcs, and their red eyes attacked the surrounding piranha terrors. Even the nearby insect troops were forced to retreat one after another, making it difficult to approach. This idiot, as soon as he is complacent, he gets carried away, and all disperses. Situ Jian cursed in a low voice, and quickly issued an order to the insect army to stay away from the area where the orc army was located. Orcs whose blood is boiling will increase their strength by 30% and will attack any creature except their companions. This secret treasure was created by Lin You, who saw Yanlai open it with his own eyes, so he naturally knew how powerful it was. So he hurriedly summoned troops, and began to treat Yanlai and the others. As for other attacking plants, they would cover with Situ Jian. Don't say it yet. The three people work together to attack, and the efficiency is not generally high, especially when there is a fierce front row like Yanlai Orc Legion. It is even more invincible. In less than 10 minutes, they slaughtered more than half of the terror, and came to the vicinity of the Flower of Terror. The corolla of the Flower of Fear twisted wildly, and a large amount of death energy emerged from the body, almost covering the entire valley. Be careful. This skill will reduce the attributes of all enemies. Situ Jian reminded loudly from the side. Lin You clicked on the arm's interface, and saw that the attributes had indeed decreased by a full 15%. This lord doesn't have any monster attack skills. On the contrary, this kind of special skills are set up in sets, and the general lord team is really difficult to deal with. And just when he looked at the properties, the Flower of Horror twisted its body again, and scattered large spores around it, turning into a piranha horrific to join the battle again, blocking their footsteps. Never stop, flush them away for me. Yanlai shouted angrily, and led the orc army to fight with the terror army. But without the blessing of the boiling beast's blood, they wouldn't be able to get much benefit in front of the horrific monsters. Although Situjian's insect troops are huge in number, their attributes are relatively low, and they are at a stalemate for a while, and it is difficult to advance an inch. Not to mention Lin Yu's troops. They are basically 7th order, and only the first 2 levels have been unlocked for territorial relics, which is still a bit different from the arms of the two. With the exception of a few royal families, they can basically only provide guerrilla support in the rear, and treat them by the way. Get ready. I'm going to start a group explosion. Lin You knew that if they continued like this, they would be exhausted sooner or later, and there was no way to get close to the Lord Monster. In order to get the plant-based treasure, he didn't bother to hide it. As soon as his mind moved, Qin Gang, who was fighting against the terror in the distance, suddenly roared, and a red glow wrapped all the arms including the orcs and insects, and his momentum was suddenly mentioned. Fuck. All attributes are increased by 30%. What kind of perverted skill is this? The face of Yanlai in front changed, and there was a deep shock in the accident. Situ Jian was equally shocked. When he was in the secret realm of the group, he knew that the Lin You unit had explosive skills similar to the boiling of animal blood, but he didn't expect it to be so scary. All attributes have been increased by 30%. This is the first time he has seen such a perverted effect, and no side effects yet. The most important thing is that the range is still large, and it can cover all the troops in the entire valley. This state is only 30 seconds. Hurry up, Lin You quickly reminded. The two of them were shocked when they heard the words, and they reacted instantly. Haha, good. Little ones, rush with me. Yanlai's straightness doesn't matter so much. Seeing that the attributes of his arms have improved so much, he suddenly has a magnificent momentum, and leads the orc army to counterattack in an all-round way. Situ Jian was not slow, and a large number of insects appeared frantically, and the black pressure was connected together. Wherever it went, it was like a locust crossing the border, gnawing away the dreads until there was nothing left. It is said that insects like to eat plants. This time Lin You can be considered to have seen it. It seems that you have to be careful when you encounter insect lords in the future. Think about it. He immediately gave the order. Under the leadership of the royal troops, the various plant troops rushed to the remaining terrors, and eliminated them one by one. Bang Bang's self-destruction sound was incessant, and he didn't even leave a body for him, and there was no way to revive an immortal flower fortunately. Yanlai and Situ Jian are powerful. Under the blessing of the savage roar, it was like possessed by a god, and it didn't take long for the army of terror to be wiped out, and the flowers of terror were surrounded. Drink. Hearing Yanlai shouting loudly, the soles of his feet suddenly exploded. The whole person jumped up like a cannonball, the giant axe in his hand raised above his head, and an axe split the rushing piranha flower in half. The rest of the piranha wriggled wildly, swooshing towards him. The ground under the feet continued to surging, and a large number of tentacles rushed out. Cut. But at this moment, a low voice came. Countless phantom montises turned into afterimages and swept straight towards those tentacles. Tear. The tentacles snapped, and the severe crisis was resolved at once. Immediately after, large chunks of mushrooms fell from the sky, landing precisely on the huge spore in the middle of the flower of terror. Boom boom. A series of violent explosions shook the entire valley. The flower of horror roared again and again, frantically attacking the surrounding troops, tearing them into pieces one by one. But without the defense bonus of the summons, it is like a tiger without its fangs, and it does not pose much threat at all. After several rounds of attacks, his body was severely damaged and sluggish. This was the first time that Lin You had crushed an 8th Order Lord so easily. Sure enough, there are a few strong teammates who are different. He only needs to paddle in the back and play soy sauce for treatment. This also made him truly understand the horror of the 8th Order Lord. It's only been a while since the advanced stage, and the strength is already so powerful that it is not comparable to the 7th Order Lord. Seeing that the Flower of Fear was on the verge of death, it fell to one side. Lin You and Situ Jian looked at each other, and they all stopped the arms and handed over the killing to Yan Lai. This is what they have discussed before they set off. Because this monster is of the plant type, there is a high probability that there will be treasures that Lin You can use. So Lin You directly gave up the original reward for killing in exchange for the right to distribute the treasures. Situ Jian and Yan Lai were teammates. Considering Yan Lai's fighting style, he needed the bonus of the source space to improve his survivability. In the end, he chose to give in. Haha, I accept this kill rudely. The moment the two retreated, Yan Lai, who was at the front, laughed loudly. His strong body jumped up suddenly, and the giant axe went from top to bottom, mercilessly inserted into the spores at the top of the Flower of Horror. Wow! The Flower of Fear let out a dying howl that turned into a sound wave and swayed around. In the end, the vitality was exhausted, and it collapsed to the ground weakly, making a rumbling sound. Congratulations! You successfully killed the 8th Order Lord monster, and obtained 100,000 mana. A pleasant reminder sounded in the minds of the three of them. Lin You didn't get the reward of the power of the source, but he got the magic energy reward, which is a good income. Look at what treasures are found, Situ Jian said quickly. The most exciting part of the boss fight is the corpse touching part. And the moment his voice fell, the chaotic aura on the Flower of Fear was also rapidly condensing, eventually turning into 3 shining treasures, and 11 territorial essences scattered around the corpse. The three of them hurried over to pick up all the things, and put them together, all with undisguised excitement on their faces. Okay, according to what I said just now, first look at the type of treasure, and then distribute it according to value. Situ Jian took a deep breath and said. Lin You and Yan Lai heard the words, also looked at the 3 treasures in front of them. A scroll, a crystal like a terror's head, and a spore-shaped orb of light. It seems that if it is not a treasure chest, it is really difficult to appear rare arms tokens. But even so, they were still excited, and their eyes were fixed on these 3 treasures. Then, Situ Jian picked up the most ordinary looking scroll first. Building name, Piranha Nest, drawing. Building level, first order. Building introduction, automatically summon piranha guards to guard the territory, with the same attributes as monsters of the same level, and must not exceed the building level. Number of summons, 0/20. Summoning consumption, 1 magic energy. Required for construction, 150 wood, 150 stone, 300 magic energy. An architectural drawing, and it is also the architectural drawings of the tower defense summoning class. It is only a first-class building, and it can summon 21st Order piranhas to guard the territory, which is a very good defensive building, especially when the territory is invaded by foreign enemies, and the Lord is not there. It can play a very important role, and there are many helpers out of thin air. But this is the summoning of the building recruitment. There should be no way to summon it from a distance like the troops, and it can only be used as a defensive territory. Not bad. If you don't want it later, you can give it to me. I am near the monster forest, and there are often high-level beast tides, which can be used to strengthen the defense of the territory. After reading the information on the drawing, Situ Jian's eyes lit up. As the son of Emperor Chongfeng, although the relationship between father and son is not in harmony, the territory he has been assigned is still very rich, and he has never lacked monster resources. This drawing is a good help for him. Let's look at the other 2 first, Yan Lai urged. Subsequently, their eyes fell on the remaining 2 things. As expected, that crystal is a secret treasure, and it is SSS grade. Army treasure, resonance of life. Treasure type, special. Treasure level, SSS level. Secret treasure effect. For every unit of the same type within a 10-meter range, all attributes will increase by 0.4%, with a maximum of 4%. When it reaches the maximum, it will cause resonance and reduce the attributes of enemies within the range by 4%. Introduction. The secret treasure used to strengthen the arms can be used in the base of the arms, and only a single type of arms can be strengthened. A secret treasure similar to the life-linking skill of the Flower of Horror, and the effect is extremely powerful, not to mention improving its own attributes, but also reducing the enemy's attributes. With this addition and subtraction, the improvement is not too big, especially the pure lord of the type of arms can play its effect. As soon as Yan Lai saw this secret treasure, he couldn't move his eyes away. In terms of the purity of the type of arms, he is definitely the only one here. There are only a few types of orcs defending and attacking. This secret treasure is the most profitable for him certainly. Situjian's insect arms are not much different. Because of its small size and large number, it is easy to trigger the additional effects of this secret treasure, and the improvement is also quite large for him. Situ, give me this secret treasure. No matter what treasure you encounter next time, I will let you pick it first, Yan Lai said through gritted teeth. Are you sure? Situ Jian's eyes lit up. Sure, nodding solemnly. It seems that he really likes this secret treasure, but he didn't forget that Lin You was still there, and immediately looked at Lin You, after speaking. Lin You, is it okay for me to take this treasure? No problem. Lin You smiled slightly. Anyway, my arms are very complicated, and this secret treasure won't have much effect on me. Haha, then I'm welcome. After receiving Lin Yu's answer, Yan Lai's mouth almost reached the base of his ear, and he quickly took the secret treasure into his arms, looking at it with joy. That eager look immediately made the two of them laugh. Then they looked at the last treasure. The spore-shaped light ball is also the closest thing to the plant system, so Lin Yu couldn't help but look forward to it. Sacred artifact name, Endless Summoning, Plant. Level 1, all attributes plus 5%. Summons get 5% attributes of the body. Level 2, all attributes plus 10%. Summons get 5% attributes of the body. Level 3, unlocked, all attributes plus 15%. Summoned objects gain 5% attributes of the body. Level 4, unlocked, territory skill, regeneration spores. Regenerated spores, passive. When the summoned object dies, it will split into 2 spores and regenerate the same individual, which lasts for 1 minute and cannot be repeated. Characteristics, territory, all attributes plus 15%. Summoned objects gain 10% attributes of the body. Characteristics, universal, the effect of the holy relic increases with the range of the source space. The territorial relic of the plant system. It actually came out. Lin Yu was so excited that his breathing became rapid, especially after seeing the attributes of the holy relic. His heart was shocked to the extreme. A full 30% increase in all attributes is 6% higher than his current savage growth artifact. It's nothing. What shocked him the most was the second characteristic. The summoned creatures obtain the body attribute, and after unlocking, it directly reaches 15%. This means his proliferating troops, undead flowers, tree demons of natural ancient trees, and tree demons of goblins, can all get bonuses to their attributes. To know, the attributes of summoned objects are generally lower than the main body, and at most are equivalent to the level of ordinary monsters of the same level. But if there is this holy relic bonus, then the result will be different. After all, his troops are different from other lords. They are blessed by symbiotic moss, and the attributes of symbiotic moss are also included in the basic attributes of the body. And the high attribute of this holy object is definitely the highest of all the holy objects he has ever seen. Good baby. Even Yan Lai on one side couldn't help but marvel. His eyes were full of shock. In general, the single attribute of a sacred object is only about 20% of its full value. This is good, not to mention that it is high. Another characteristic is this extremely rare special attribute. It can be called the best of holy objects. Unfortunately, it's from the plant system. Situ Jian's face was full of regret. It would be great if the sacred relic in this territory was of the insect type. Although his unit attribute is not high, it is also a great improvement for him. According to the agreement, this thing is yours. He looked at Lin Yu, who was still in shock. Thank you. Lin Yu was solemnly grateful, then took a deep breath and put away the sacred relics in the territory. His heart trembled uncontrollably. Subsequently, Situ Jian picked up the architectural blueprint he just saw. If that's the case, then this thing is mine. In terms of value, Lin Yu's sacred relic is the highest, followed by Yan Lai's secret treasure, but Yan Lai killed the lord just now. He took 5 7th order essences, and the rest of the essences belonged to me. No problem. No problem. Can. Lin You nodded silently, and had no objection to the distribution plan of Situ Jian. He even earned it, because if it is really calculated according to the standard market price, I am afraid that the value of the sacred relics in his territory will have to be paid into it. It's just that they use team allocation, so they didn't do it so rigorously. Okay, everything has been allocated. We have to hunt monsters here to get more magic energy, and go back later. Lin You, do you want to join us? After putting away the things, Situ Jian invited Lin You. Yan Lai, who was beside him, also looked at him. After the battle just now, they deeply felt the importance of a teammate with a healing and control system. Although Lin You is only rank 7, his strength and potential are beyond doubt. What dragged him down was that he didn't have time to accumulate. So even if they had risen to the 8th rank, they didn't mean to look down on Lin You, but treated him as a person of the same rank. Okay, anyway, I'm short of magic now. Lin You thought for a while, then nodded, and agreed to their invitation. After repairing in place, they left the valley together, and cooperated to hunt and kill monsters nearby until it got dark and the sun gradually set. They rushed back to the sanctuary together, and returned to the floating islands. After agreeing to work together again, they will each teleport back to their own territory. Go and put on the new holy artifact first. Lin You couldn't wait to ride the Demon King Dragon, and flew away from the territory, rushing towards the center of the city. Although this new sacred artifact now has 1% lower attributes than Savage Growth, it can't stand the second attribute, and when he reaches the 8th level, he can unlock the 3rd level attribute of the sacred object, and the effect will skyrocket directly, which is not comparable to the Savage Growth sacred object. As for the twice plant growth rate, and recovery rate bonuses for Savage Growth, it's not that important to him. After all, his racial talent already has a recovery speed bonus. Although it is still weak now, it will definitely become stronger in the future. And the Forest Domain, skill learned after the territory has risen to the 7th rank, is enough to solve the problem of plant growth, and there is no need to worry about affecting the cultivation of food in the city. Lord, why are you here? Wei Gang, who was patrolling near the central square, soon found Lin You, who had landed from the air, and hurried up to greet him. It was already evening. The number of people gathered in the central square also began to increase, coming to the night market, or praying in front of the statue to receive blessings. In the open space, there were even many naked children chasing and playing, and pedestrians hanging out after dinner, making the entire central square lively. The appearance of Lin You naturally attracted the attention of the residents, who stopped to observe from a distance, and talked in a low voice. Wei Gang, you came just in time. Seeing Wei Gang and the team coming towards him, Lin You rolled over and jumped off his mount. I have something to ask you. Do you cultivators have any such sayings as beast pets, or beast masters? Beast pets and beast masters. Wei Gang raised his head in confusion. There is this one. It is a kind of cultivation method to sign a contract with monsters and control monsters to fight. And ordinary practitioners can also sign a suitable animal pet, aid in the fight. My subordinate beast pet is the 6th order Decepticon signed before, and I am going to replace it with a 7th order one. Why did the Lord suddenly ask this? It's nothing. I just want to try something. You summon your pet to have a look. Lin You said directly, as ordered. Wei Gang didn't say much, just stretched out his hand, and summoned the Decepticon in his beast guarding space. The brilliance flashed, and the majestic Decepticon appeared in front of everyone. It's just that when the Decepticons saw the Demon King Dragon beside Lin You, all of their hair stood up all of a sudden, and they hid behind Wei Gang like a kitten, shivering. This, Lord, don't take it seriously. Your summoned item level is higher than it. It is a little scared. Wei Gang said embarrassedly, stretched out his hand, and slapped the Decepticon's head, feeling ashamed of his pet's cowardice. Even the few subordinates behind him couldn't help but want to snicker, but they didn't dare to laugh out loud when Lin You was here, so they all blushed and looked extremely uncomfortable. Is this your pet? Lin You looked at Wei Gang's Decepticons curiously, and an interface came into his eyes. The attributes are similar to ordinary 6th order monsters, but the suffix changes from monsters to beast pets, and the other differences are not big. Seeing this, Lin Yu's heart was a little too deep. Glancing at the statue in the center of the square, I took out the holy relic I just got from my personal space. In an instant, the light lit up, instantly illuminating the entire surroundings. Lord, this is... Wei Gang and the men around him widened their eyes, looking at the holy relic in Lin Yu's hand. They can clearly feel that the terrifying energy contained in it seems to explode at any time. Even the crowd around them all showed a look of horror. Then, under the watchful eyes of all of them, Lin You came to the statue with the relic, and slowly lifted it up. Would you like to replace the sacred relics of the territory with endless summoning? Once it is replaced, it cannot be changed, and the original sacred object disappears. Please consider carefully. Replace. Lin You didn't hesitate and answered directly. Then the sacred object in his hand shone brightly, and slowly flew into the air. In the limelight, it is integrated with the Lord statue. Next second, a strong natural aura, centered on the statue, surged out violently, turning into a green brilliance visible to the naked eye, spreading out towards the entire Huangsha city, and even the entire forest. Even in the sky, a huge phantom of the piranha flower was condensed, and it became a little fluorescent light scattered down. The huge scene was like a miracle coming. Roar. Inside and outside Huangsha city, the roars of beasts rise and fall one after another. Even the Decepticons beside Wei Gang roared in the sky. His body seemed to be infused with some kind of power, and his aura continued to rise. It was actually abruptly promoted to the late 6th stage. This. Wei Gang opened his mouth wide, watching the change in disbelief. His beast pet was only in the middle stage of the 6th order. How did it suddenly become so powerful? Could it be the holy relic that Lord just changed? But this effect is too strong, and the beast cultivators in the city were also extremely shocked at this time. Although their own strength is not comparable to that of cultivators of the same level, they are fighting with beast pets. Now that the holy relic was changed, the strength of their beast pets has all improved a bit, and they were all startled immediately. And then they immediately became ecstatic, and hurried to the direction of the central square. Okay, you continue to patrol. I'll go back first. Lin Yu didn't stay in the square for long. Just to briefly explain the effect of the new holy artifact to Wei Gang and others, he rode the Demon King Dragon, and rushed back to the territory, leaving behind a shocked crowd. Soon, he came under the world tree to check the sacred relic information. When I was chatting with Zhonglei before, he had asked about the addition of sacred objects and racial talents in the source space. According to Zhonglei, after the source space of each level reaches the full value range, the territorial relics will increase the effect by 10%, and the racial talent will be directly doubled and accumulated layer by layer. For example, after the 7th order source space reaches the full value range of 100 meters, his holy artifact all attribute aura will reach 33%, and his racial talent will reach 4%. Don't look at the improvement only so much. The more the basic attributes of the following arms are higher, the improvement of 1% is already very huge. And this effect is cumulative. The more you get to the end, the bigger the gap between the levels becomes. This is why it is difficult for low-level lords to compete with high-level lords. The only thing that Lin Yu didn't understand was how to calculate his double space. He asked Zhonglei vaguely, but the answer he got was that he didn't know, because Zhonglei had never heard of anyone whose source space could exceed the current level upper limit have to. It seems that we can only wait until later. Sure enough, the game designer's mind is filled with poo. Lin Yu couldn't help but curse inwardly. Inexplicably came up with this thing, and asked who and who did not know. His current source space is only 30 meters away. According to the proportion, the blessing of the holy relic should be 3%. It is optional, and the effect cannot be seen for the time being. Forget it. Let's take a look at the effects of the sacred artifact first. Throwing away the messy thoughts, Lin Yu came to the open space to check the attributes of proliferating troops and other summons. After replacing the territorial relic, his current all-attribute aura has a total of 10% spiritual, 20% divine, and 15% holy. Add this additional 10% summon bonus. For an 8th order summon with an average attribute of 1750, the attribute can reach 2713, which directly exceeds the category of ordinary 8th order. As for the multiplication of arms, because of the slightly higher body attributes, it will reach nearly 3000 points under the aura bonus. This may not be comparable to the attributes of other lords, with the addition of the 8th order aura, and it can't handle chaotic monsters of the same level, but it is enough to be used as cannon fodder. At least it won't be too weak. After all, the racial talent of the plant system increases physique and recovery speed. Other than that, the resistance and battery life are absolutely good. And after he reaches the 8th level, he will also unlock the 3rd attribute of the holy relic. That's when this holy artifact is at its strongest. After reading the attributes, Lin Yu was instantly satisfied. He closed the interface and rested aside. By the way, sorting out the harvest of hunting monsters today. Haha. Today's luck is overwhelming. I grabbed a Lord Monster's holy item reward on the monster plane. All attributes have increased by 22%, and it's developed. Fuck. 22% is so high. Brother, are you going to take action? I'll take it at a high price. At most, it's just a petite top. What's there to show off? That is, Everyone basically has holy relics later, and the attributes are not much different. To widen the gap, you have to look at the secret treasures and racial talent. The big guy is tough when he speaks. My holy relic only adds 18% attributes, and it still can't grow. As long as the 8th Order Lords have been around for a long time, the territory basically has about 50% of the attribute bonus. You still have a long way to go. On the chat channel, there is always no shortage of idle people, and there are all kinds of topics to discuss. But Lin You is more concerned about the information about the 8th Order Lord. Those 8th Order Lords basically have a 50% attribute bonus. Lin You was shocked inwardly. This is already equivalent to a monster of C rank or higher. Although it was expected that the background of the 8th Order Lord would be very strong, but when I saw it with my own eyes, I couldn't help but be a little surprised. You know, he also relied on the fragments of the Godhead to barely reach this level. The lords who can rise to the 8th rank are not simple characters. However, Lin You was not worried, because after rising to the 8th level, he will usher in a big improvement, especially the symbiotic moss. It can copy the attributes of the 8th Order, that is, the attributes are doubled, directly reaching the level of the 9th Order, and there are more than 200 9th Orders. According to the number of essences required to upgrade the arms, those 8th Order Lords are only 10 9th Order arms. Even if the treasures are deeper than him, he has nothing to be afraid of, so upgrading to Tier 8 is imminent. It seems that I have to go to the main city tomorrow. Lin You closed the interface and muttered to himself. Now he still needs 485 beliefs to level up. According to this belief acquisition rate, he will only have 350 beliefs at most in 10 days, and there is still a gap of 200. If he remembered correctly, in the main city, there are low-level faith orbs that sell 100 faiths, which cost 50,000 points each and can only be exchanged for one per day. After he purchased the Flying Dock blueprint, he still had 120,000 honor points left. It can be exchanged for 200 faith, and there is no problem in upgrading within 10 days. So what I have to do now is to seize the time to collect magic energy, and then recruit a large number of mutant 8th Order troops to enter the 8th Order battlefield. After thinking about it, Lin You got up and walked up the stairs, and went to the tree house to rest early the next 2 days. There are sanctuaries inside and outside the public domain, and there are no major events that are worth noting. Lin You basically went to the main plane of monsters to hunt monsters and lords of other realms during the day, and returned to the realm to rest at night. During the period, I also brought some Tier 8 equipment made by dwarves to sell it to Shifang Pavilion to earn some resources. It was not until the morning of the 3rd day that his trip was finally interrupted by one incident. That is, the teleportation array to the Dwarf Kingdom has been built. Early in the morning, Lin You took Shiwa Changgui and Wei Gang to the outside of the Dwarf clan early and waited with the dwarves of the Warhammer clan. In front of them is a new huge circular platform. I saw that on the entire platform, there were densely engraved esoteric runes, connected by dozens of magic crystal platforms, which looked both spectacular and mysterious. Every time those dwarves activate a magic crystal platform, a white light will light up on the teleportation array and start to supply energy. Seeing that the magic crystal platforms were activated one by one, Shiwa Changgui and Wei Gang on the side were even more excited, with strong expectations in their eyes. Old Shiwa, do you think we really want to connect with the Dwarf Kingdom? Wei Gang couldn't help but said in a low voice. Probably. The Lord said that his dwarf friend became the king of the Dwarf Kingdom. This teleportation array was built in order to visit the tribe often. King of Dwarves. Wei Gang's eyes widened. In the past few days, he knew that the dwarves were making moves, but he didn't expect such a big move. Their lord is actually friends with the Dwarf King. If this matter spreads out, I am afraid it will shock everyone's jaws. Even he himself was too shocked to speak. Upon seeing this, Shiwa Changgui suddenly reminded, the Lord has explained that this matter must not be passed on. You should know what the consequences will be. Don't worry, although I usually speak openly, I still know the seriousness. Wei Gang nodded solemnly. Having been the commander of Huangsha City for so long, he naturally knew what to say and what not to say. Now that their Huangsha City is still fledgling, it may not be a good thing to be too ostentatious. Even with the previous 8th Order equipment, they only claimed that there were 8th Order blacksmiths in the territory. Even if those people knew that there were dwarves in their territory, they would never have thought that the kingdom of dwarves was connected here was talking. The magic crystal table above the teleportation array was finally activated, and a dazzling white light suddenly lit up, illuminating the entire mountain range. Then the space distorted. Mugen, who was wearing a God of War suit, and a huge honor guard team appeared on the teleportation array.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.